Welcome back to the Low Stick Podcast. I'm your co-host along with Eric Detman. I'm Jason Retz. We are back another month to celebrate some of the successes of the season, talk about some of our buildups, and give you a little data. For a little bit of a change from what we've done in the past, we're going to give you some very specific training plans. We're going to share screen a little bit, the power of Zoom, finally figuring it out after 4 years of trying it with COVID, or however many years, 15 years, whenever COVID hit. We're getting that figured out along the way. So before we go any further, big congratulations on your season. You've finished up NXN, heck of a season for your gals.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a pretty amazing year, just across the board, winning a couple of big invitationals like we did, second at state, winning the regional. We got 20th at NXN, which was, if I'm being honest, was disappointing. We went in with higher expectations of that. But one of the things, overall, I'm super proud of the kids over the course of the season and what they did and what we accomplished. But I'm also really proud that we're a program that can finish 20th at NXN, and feel a little bit of disappointment in that and feel like we were capable of more on that day. I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this. I think a lot of people who have maybe a different perspective, like, oh, how can you be disappointed with 20th? But as a coach, never being in your position, I know exactly what you mean with the way you were set up, ready to go, and it can be a big positive for your program. So without any further ado, we're going to kind of dive in a little bit. What we want to really talk about is we want to talk about the buildups to our season. So we want to really talk about the nuts and bolts and specifics of what we did leading up to our finishes at the state meet. For us, finished sixth place at the 1A state meet. We moved up 12 positions from the year before. And you obviously, with a heck of a season ending there, continuing to build from what you've done in years past with those gals, which was super exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this, and I think I'm hopeful that our viewers are excited too. They've asked a lot about training and questions specific around what about this or why that. So we're gonna give you a little bit of a look into that today.
All right. So through the power of technology, if you're listening to us on a platform where you don't have the ability to see what's going on right now, we've got our specific lead ups to our state meets. Now, help me out here. I don't know what you see. Is that toolbar at the top in your way, or is it good?
No, it's good. I can see everything. I can see the final 2 weeks, starting with Monday long run, the week of the sectionals, and then I can see all the way down to the state meet.
Perfect. This is our first go on this share screen, so we're going to feel it out with you along the way. All right. So for our lead up, we were very normal. We don't make a lot of changes all the way to the end, and we put out 14 days of lead up for you to just kind of get a glimpse of what we do. A regular week for us in the competition phase in the cycle is 14 days, and we got one long run to kick off that, and we did the exact same thing starting with the weakest sectionals for us. With our long run, we normally try to tempo the last 20 minutes of the run. Now you can see that we cut that down to 10 minutes. We're not going to gain any stimulus. We just want to make sure our body continues to remember what it's supposed to do. I don't know if you do similar also, just try to match the things you've done in previous weeks to keep yourself rolling.
Yeah, we're very similar, and you'll see that when we scroll down and kind of take a look at what the Lincoln plan looked like. But there's no special workouts in the last couple of weeks. There's no magic elixir that's going to get us to perform at the level that we want to. It's just a matter of being consistent, staying with what works, and allowing our kids to feel really good. I think that's the biggest thing at this point in the season is like, in mid-September, early October, they might feel sore going into a workout or sore going into a race. Like everything we do now, I think you want the kids to walk away from it feeling really, really good.
Absolutely. So as we progress in our week, our weather was pretty decent. It was cooling off a little bit. You can see on Wednesday we did 10 by 600-ish. The reason I say 600-ish is because the grass loop we're on, we normally make about 800 meters out of it, but we did 200-meter run in, and they just tried to run a little faster than race pace progressively as we went. Some of them did 6 of them, some of them did 10 of them. We just wanted to see where they felt feeling good rolling.
Yeah.
And just like we mentioned, just touching some of those things, like we talked about in the last podcast, or when we talk about VO2, we get to the end of the season, we're just touching on those things, keep the body fresh, rolling faster than. VO2 for them could kind of turn into what race pace is.
So
Um,
let me ask you this, Jason, as if I'm a new coach who's taking a look at this, and again, for those of you who can't see what I'm seeing on the screen is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday is Jason's IHSA sectional meet, which is his qualifier for the state meet. So I'm looking at Wednesday, I'm seeing 10 by 600-ish at VO2. I'm looking at 3 days later, we're running a sectional meet. Some of our viewers might be like, that seems like a lot of work
yeah,
going into a sectional meet. But I know that you have a specific plan for why you're doing those 610 of them, 2 days before a big state qualifying event. Can you share a little bit of what that looks like?
absolutely. For us, we have the luxury to not have to go at 100% in order to qualify for the state meet. So we have the luxury of at the sectional kind of laying back a little bit, being in control and racing as a team and racing as a group and really trying to close hard instead of having to put the hammer down for an entire 3 miles. So it gives us the ability to get just a little bit more work in, keep it more of a normal work week for us. We most of the time will be Monday, Wednesday with a lot of our workouts. So this allows us to feel a little faster pace, have a Saturday where we can gain some confidence by closing on the field. And you can see if you're not looking at it right there, this is a 2-loop race course that we made. It had some tight turns. There was not anything longer than about 200 meters before you made a turn. And so we knew that you weren't going to have a lot of rhythm. So it made sense for us to be in control for about the first mile and a half and then really try to close, take good tangents the last mile and a half, really race the last mile of the course. And it paid off very well for us. We were able to do what we did on Wednesday because of the luxury that we had on Saturday. And it executed very well for us. At
Now,
the end.
let's say that you are in a sectional, because not all of our viewers have that luxury, right? Some of us, like, I know for me, our boys team this year was in a super, super competitive district meet. If you don't have that luxury of having the ability to qualify without feeling your absolute best, do you, and if so, what adjustments do you make? Do you move this to Tuesday? Do you lower the volume? Do you slow it down? What do you think you would do? And I know maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but
No, that's a great question because that continues us rolling into the next week. I think what would be similar is if we weren't extremely confident that we would get everyone out, our sectional week would look like what our state week looks like, which is just underneath of that. We would probably have some kind of time trial Monday. We definitely would not long run that week. We would have pushed the long run to the week before. Now, keep in mind, and you do this the same, if you're doing this at home, you start with where you think you will finish your season and work backwards.
Mm.
So we knew before the season started that Monday of sectionals for our guys was going to be a long run because we were very confident they were going to make it out. On our girls' side, we only had 2 girls make it out. We only had 2 girls that long ran that week of sectionals because we were pretty confident that they could get out. The other ones did not long run at that time. Their week looked more like the state meet looked like, or the state meet week looked like along the way. So we got through sectionals. I put in there notes, man, we had kids getting crazy sick every single week. It was just
Mhm.
it was crazy the adjustments we had to make just trying to keep kids healthy. And we didn't end up doing that all the way to the end, but we did the absolute best we could. We stopped doing morning stuff, which has its ups and downs, but we had to. Sleep was way more important. We couldn't get kids up early to get work in before school because of the sickness and illnesses we were having. So we took us to the week of state and we always time trial on that Monday. And we come to Monday, it's like 20 degrees and like 30-mile-an-hour winds. Like normally the mile time trial, we get all kinds of PRs and it just was a terrible idea. I think I had
Mhm.
3 PRs for kids. The weather was terrible. We wanted to get out of it as quick as we could. Looking back, I would have adjusted that. I would have taken that backwards. We would have done threshold and maybe close with a hard 400 on the track or something to build some confidence. The mile did not do what I wanted it to that day. We left
Sure.
we left a little bit discouraged, I think.
Let me ask you this. So I know that the mile time trial that Monday is kind of a staple to your program, which has been, so fantastically successful for you guys in the past. You talk about changing it, maybe let's focus on doing some threshold or something else. What if you change it to, and can you do this a mile down the road and put that wind at your back?
Yeah, that's yes, some directions.
Hmm.
But when the wind is out of the north, we don't have a great north wind route. But
Sure.
that's why I think I could change it to an 800, or I could change it to something less. I could change it to the last 400 of our tempo
Yeah.
to allow us to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just curious, like, what are some other, some of our coaches are like, I really like this. I want to keep it. What can I do? Just trying to throw out some other ideas or suggestions that potentially could work.
If
But I
if I
do
got
agree,
east
like,
or west wind, I'm all
yeah,
over it.
yeah.
North and south for us is not a great wind for where our location is.
Sure. And I think one of the best things, as a coach is, and I've talked about this at clinics, I've heard other coaches talk about this at clinics. It's not the special workout, similar to like what I was saying before. It's all that other stuff in between. So if I have to make an adjustment day of, like, that's okay. And just letting your kids know and making sure that they understand, we're doing this, we're adjusting in the best interest of you. It's not because you've done something wrong or whatever. We just, we're trying to work on XYZ. And I think your kids are going to buy into that idea and they're
Absolutely.
going to walk out more confident.
And the other flip side of that too is we're in the state meet week. As long as we don't mess it up, and with a mile, you're not really going to mess it up. As long as nobody gets hurt in that scenario, it's really difficult to mess up. If it doesn't go well, their fitness and everything is still there. You talk them through the weather, and for us, it panned out pretty well for us on that state meet Saturday. Most of our kids ran either season best or lifetime best on the course. Two all staters for the guys. Um, Two guys within top 10 all time list there. Our gals ran season
Yeah.
best on the course. I mean, like it went very well for us there. So I was very pleased with how that week went. We don't really taper. And as you see there, I didn't put in the distances for our recovery days, but our volume does not come down very much. A lot of our seniors are maybe doing 60 minutes most of the time, and here they may be doing 45, right? So they may come down a little bit, 4 to 6 miles total, but our volume does not come down very much. I would rather maintain that high than come down and them feel stale when they get to the state meet.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on to yours. I think that will help us compare and contrast a little bit some of the stuff we did. As you can see, I said we did fantastic there, and I couldn't be more pleased. Everything didn't go perfect, for sure, but it was definitely a huge positive for us to end on.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I look at ours, there's some similarities, I think, in what you've been having your kids do. Our state qualifier, so yours is on a Saturday, ours is on a Wednesday. So that's a big difference for us just in terms of what we can do, the Monday 2 weeks out from the state meet. So what we did Monday, and part of this, so if we even back up 2 more days, we did a mile time trial this Saturday before that Monday. So about 5 days before our district meet, mile time trial, did some 400s, some 200s. There was tons of PRs. And we had 5 girls who ran under 506. We had 6 girls who ran under 511. We had a freshman boy whose 1500 PR was 429 and he ran 436. And so on and so forth. It was remarkable how good that was. But Monday, we did what we is our kind of our pre-training run stuff, which is organ drills and leg swings. And then what we call a modified training run. So sometimes I struggle with terminology. So if a training run is like 8 miles, a modified training run might be 6.5 miles. A modified is 5 miles. Um, and shockingly enough, the kids know what I'm saying when I use that terminology. Um, our varsity girls did more of just a typical training run. Our varsity boys did more modified because our district championships were that Wednesday and we wanted to be ready to go. So then we did strides, 5K, 5K, 3K, 1500. Tuesday, was just more pre-meet type stuff that we always do. Wednesday was districts, which was successful. Our boys finished fifth and they were the first team to not qualify for state, which, in one lens is disappointing because we're a program that expects to do that, to qualify for state on a consistent basis. But at the same time, when I look at the progression of these kids, we had a kid who ran 1911 as a freshman. He ran 1631 as a sophomore. We had a kid who was two kids who were 1650 kids who ran 1606 and 1555. Like the progression of these kids was fantastic. The girls were great. We took 7 of the top 10, top six spots in the JV girls. We'd actually had a goal that if we didn't score we have our top 5, and then if we scored our 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that they would have gotten second place at the district meet, and we were 3 points away from doing that, which we were pretty excited about. So moving forward, Friday was just a training run plus strides. And then Saturday we did a tempo. So we'd gotten away from that a little bit just because of some of the meets that we'd had. And I think tempo stuff is so valuable year round, regardless of where you're at, with some 200s. And that was super fun. I jumped in and actually did that workout with the girls, which was pretty exciting. Next week, no. At that point I still felt pretty good. I was fit-ish. Next week, so this follows the format that we've used before all of our big meets over the course of the year, which is it's quite different than what we've done in the past. So on Monday, we used to do 200s on Monday, but this time we just did a training run plus strides in our walking drills. Tuesday, I actually gave the girls an option. Do you want to do 5 by 2 minutes on, 1 minute off, starting at tempo, getting quicker, which is what we had done the majority of the year? Or, because a lot of our girls are 800 based, would you rather do 8 by 200? And we actually, we had 5 girls who wanted to do 2 on, 1 off. We had 2 girls who wanted to run 200s. Or no, switch that. 5 girls who wanted to do 200s, 2 who wanted to do 2 on, 1 off. And I gave them the choice. And I think that's a really important thing. And I've learned that. I've heard this from a variety of coaches. Dave Frankett, formerly at Central Catholic, was a big guy who talked about ask your kids what they want to do, because that's going to be a really good indication of what they should do. Because at this point, again, there's no magic workout. It's just helping them to feel good. So I let them do that. Thursday or just training runs. Go ahead.
Let me pause you there. Do you think that the team being separated for that workout, was there any effect on them, or did they know that they were doing what they needed to do?
No, they knew, because everybody, we set it up like you have a choice. What this person does doesn't mean is what you should do, and you need to be okay with that. So they warmed up together, they did their drills together. The workout took about the same amount of time. They they cooled down together, did their walking drills, all that stuff. But they recognized, and kudos to them. There's certainly a level of maturity there of recognizing what I want to do or what I think I need to do in order to give me the best opportunity to run fast.
Yeah, that's good for them. That's good coaching.
Yeah, and that was great. Wednesday and Thursday were training runs plus some strides. And then Friday is our typical pre-meet. So Oregon drills, 3 miles. We do some speed drills, leg swings, and then we do a 3 by 150 out of the starting box. And that's a really important piece, especially for us. We are the most inside box this year at the Oregon State meet. And we talked a lot about visualizing what that line is going to look like for you the next day, because you have to be present on what's happening to your right, because everybody comes to the inside, right to left. So everyone's coming to basically box us in. Yeah. And we talked a lot about that. And I know this is a little bit different. Like, a lot of people like to do 2 different sessions, not necessarily hard, but 2 different sessions leading up to a big invitation on a Saturday. But we just found this to work really well for us this year. Yeah. And it's probably something we'll revisit next year. In terms of state, we got second. The team that we beat, the team that had beat us, we'd beaten earlier in the year. This year we've been a team that's tried to come from behind and run really well from second place. And I don't know that we executed that. And we talked a lot about this with the girls afterwards, but I don't know that we executed that well. At the mile, we were second, third, and fourth, which isn't coming from behind.
No, no, not at all.
No, but with that said, we put 5 girls in the top 14.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's bittersweet, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You put that on there, but
yeah,
you do that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. If you told me we would have put 5 in the top 14 and lost, I would have said there's no way. We're the lowest second place score in the history of the state meet, like dating back to 1920s or something like that. I looked it up. Only like 6 scores would have ever beaten that were state championship scores. I mean, it was wild.
Wow.
How, yeah. So it was, girls raced their hearts out, and they were bummed. But 5 in the top 14 is pretty special.
So was it like you ran well, just didn't execute real well, or what was the vibe right after?
Sadness.
Yes, yes, yes. After that,
Sure. Yeah, I just I'm not what I'm not going to say is that if we had gone out in 10, 11, and 12, if that would have made the difference. Jesuit, who won, was fantastic on that day. I do believe that the mentality of coming from behind, the mentality of chasing, like you get to a point in the race where you're like, all right, I'm going to move now. And I'm really excited to pass people. And rather than having that, we were the ones who got passed. And I don't know that necessarily we weren't fit enough to win because we came back the next week and won.
yeah.
But it was just, I think, the mindset of like, we're getting passed, like, oh my gosh, we're supposed to be the ones who are passing people. And now we're getting passed. And I think that that was really hard for the kids to manage.
Now, did it feel more like a dual meet though? I'm just thinking to myself in their position. When I think about coming from behind a little bit, I feel like I'm in the middle of the pack, or at least in the front part, and I'm closing hard and getting a bunch of people. But in
yeah,
that scenario where it's just the two of you, it's almost like a dual meet scenario, right?
it sure, yeah. I mean, it felt that way. And I would say we didn't go in with that expectation.
Yeah.
But two schools, we put 10 in the top 15.
Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy. I think, it's hard. I think it was hard for some of our kids um, to look around and you just see yellow of Jesuit and you just see red of Lincoln and you're not really seeing any other colors. So you're looking around, recognizing like there's no displacement. There's
Yeah.
nothing going on here. Um, so, and we could have, I think, I could have done a better job of preparing them. I'm 35. I think about this all the time. Like I'm not young, but I'm young in the sense of coaching. I've only been a head coach since 2019. And part of what was so hard, I was talking to one of our moms after this. Part of what's so hard is like you have this really special group that you want to give them everything that you can. But I also have to recognize I don't have all those answers. And as a part of being with these special groups, there's still a lot that I'm learning. And it sucks in the moment that those kids don't get to experience what I so desperately want them to. But I do recognize that 5 years from now, we're going to have kids who are going to experience exactly what we want them to because of the kids that came before them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's press on here to your NXN. Now, here's the deal. How much time do you have between state and NXN?
1 month.
So we've left out a lot of details of the post state meet to the 2 weeks lead up here. So, there's a lot that happens in that time period. And if you want more detail, we'd be happy to reach out to you. But we just felt like the lead up to this was going to be more beneficial to some of you that are newer to this, right? This is the kind of ultimate lead up to the very end
Right.
of the year.
Yeah.
So let's talk through this just a little bit. All right. So, what was the vibe on the team for that month? Now, I mean, you don't have to go into great detail, but excitement, stale. What was the vibe of the group?
Really excited. We came out of NXR a little bit banged up, just with some people who had like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That course is pretty challenging. And I think after a hard season and then running on that course, and we had one girl who kind of tweaked her knee on that course. Um, it was a little bit banged up, but kids were excited. I mean, kids were really, really excited. I don't think we were stale. I think they were excited. We had talked enough about the idea of going to NXN that there was an expectation. So it wasn't like we get to state, we get to NXR, we qualify for NXN. It's like, oh my gosh, I still have 3 more weeks. It's like, yeah, no, we were planning on this over the entirety of this year. So I think kids were ready to go.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So walk us through here.
Yeah. So Monday was just so this week, this top section that we're taking a look at, this is Thanksgiving week, which is really challenging because we have kids who have the means to travel. And even though we talk a lot about NXN and we talk a lot about going and all those things, we also have a lot of parents who want to travel. And Thanksgiving is a perfect week for them to do that. So, they do. So we had some of our kids here. We had some of our kids not here. Some of them were here part of the time, not the other part. So it was a little bit challenging getting everyone together, and that might be something we adjust next year. But I do also at the same time I trust my kids, and I want to honor the fact that, we ask a lot of their families to make commitments, and to continue to extend that basically into December is tough.
Yeah.
But WAPA, so on Tuesday, that was kind of like our last big workout, about 10 days out. And WAPA, Jay Johnson at his clinic, Mark Wetmore of Colorado, they talk about mags, which is like their workout, their run, whatever. And WAPA is one of those for us. And not that I really thought that it like WAPA was going to give us much. It's basically just a 650-meter hill that we do, was going to give us much from a preparation standpoint. But what I wanted to happen was the kids who, who were doing WAPA in September to come back in November and be like, wow, I've improved that much. And that I remember watching that workout. It was like it was getting dark, the sun was setting quicker than it ever has. And just watching these girls ripping through this workout, doing things I've never seen. So if you're a girl on the 650-meter hill, if you're running somewhere around 245 pace, you're having a really good day. And we had 5 girls who averaged 236. It was incredible. So I was like, we're ready. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
So there was that. We did a modified long run just because we wanted to get our mileage back up, because we felt like we'd cut so much before state and NXR and those things. Thursday training run, Friday training run. Saturday, we just did a workout that we did actually in 2019 leading up to NXN. You run a mile at 5K opening pace. The kids ask, how fast do you want that to be? And I just say, just run, like whatever feels right. And what's cool about it is they ran like 520 something pace. And that was pretty impressive. And then then we go into the next week and training run, follow the same format of the state meet. Go ahead.
So let me ask you this. What was your hardest effort in the time between? Was it that WAPA workout, or what was I don't want to say the race simulation, but a month not racing is really difficult, right?
Yeah.
Especially for a high school kid. What was your hardest workout or race leading up to that NXN?
Yeah. So Tuesday WAPA was hard. The Saturday before that, and then we condensed kind of those hard efforts just because of Thanksgiving week. We did 3 by mile with 3 minutes rest. And we wanted to progress. And the kids went 550, 552 for their first one, which was a little slow, 531 for their second one. And then our top 2 girls ran 511 and the next 3 ran 522. So that was a hard effort.
Pretty
And
okay.
they were, yeah. And that was, so between that workout on Saturday, which we're not seeing here, and then Tuesday, Washington Park, those were 2 big efforts for us. And then, we
I think
followed
if you're listening, your new coach, that's the gold right there. What's the time in between? Now, let me ask you this, having done it all, would you change that buildup in that component of that hard piece, or do you think that was perfect timing for that?
I think it was really good timing for it. I think it was really good timing based on what we were asking of our kids too, from a Thanksgiving standpoint.
Yeah,
Like
especially
we
with
had
the
to,
holiday. Yeah.
yeah, we could have gone like Monday, Thursday, but half of our kids weren't even in town. And WAPA is like, you have to do WAPA in Portland, Oregon. You're not doing that in Baltimore or something.
You're not coming to St. Joe and doing that.
Right. So we had to fit within the parameters of what we had. And I think we did a good job of that.
Coaching. That's the
Yeah.
coaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So talking about your week of NXN.
It's same format as any big meet, same format as NXR, same format as state meet, same format as hole in the wall. Monday training run, Tuesday 8 by 2 minutes or 8 by 200, or Wednesday, Thursday training run, Friday pre-meet, and then Saturday we raced. And going back, go ahead.
So take the emotion out of this. What do you change on a coaching standpoint in that buildup, or do you even make any changes in that buildup?
I think the change that we'll make next year, the biggest change we'll make next year, is we were not a team that was recognized nationally early in the year. And you look at like the DieStat rankings or Mile Split or Tully or whatever, like we weren't one of those teams that people talked about. So we had to go to Bob Furman, we had to go to Hole in the Wall. And there were certain things that I felt like we had to do there, not only to assert ourselves nationally, if we weren't going to be top 2 at the regional, we also needed our girls to believe that they could run with those teams.
Yeah.
Right. Like in 2019, it was such a magical year. We qualified, we had all this momentum, and then COVID happened. And in my heart, I believe we would have qualified for NXN in 2020 and 21, and we probably would have qualified in 22. But this was a brand new experience for so many of these girls that like they had to believe that they could beat people. So we really took our foot off the gas in late September, early October to give ourselves an opportunity to run fast at Bob Furman, to run fast at Hole in the Wall. And next year, like, I don't care. Our girls know that they can compete with anybody. So we're, like Monday or Tuesday of Bob Furman, like we're going to run a really hard workout before leading up to Hole in the Wall. We're going to run a really hard workout. And I think there's some of those things that we can do a little bit differently, a little bit better.
Yeah, training's super important. And I
Right.
think you're spot on. Now that they know and they believe, you've changed their perspective on what they can do.
Right. And that's really important. And that's the biggest adjustment we'll make. A lot of the other buildup, I love. I mean, I am so happy with what we did this year and what the girls and the boys accomplished that yeah, we're not going to really change much.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. We're the same boat. Ours doesn't change very much here and there. Our Wednesday before the sectional sometimes changes based on what the weather or what kind of footing we can get onto. But we're very similar. We're going to give that type of effort somewhere along the line as we lead up to the sectional, and as long as we still have the ability to do what we do at the sectional, if we are in a spot where we think sectional will be last, it will look just like this, but for the sectional, everything would be bumped up. So this would be the week of the regionals that we would do something like that. I was very pleased with how we responded as a team. I felt
Yeah.
that they were rested, ready to go as we got to the very end. So I couldn't be any more pleased with how it ended for our group as well. The mentally and physically perfect, right?
Yeah.
Absolute great lead in.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So we've got some other Eric's got some organ drills. He's got some other verbiage on there. If you want to know what some of those things mean or you're not sure, just reach out. We'd be happy to help you along the way there as well. One of the things we want to really move forward with is we want to just be better about giving you some details, such as we did today. So I think as we move forward into our next podcast next month, we'll be turning over the new year. We're going to really look at some of the trendy stuff and some of the stuff we're doing moving forward, specific with our training. We may talk about some double threshold, what that may look like for a high school kid, why or why not. And honestly, the more I read and more I see, the more I could see if it fits you. Maybe that's something you dip your toe into, but for most of us is probably not something that we dip our toe into. We've gone to some clinics recently. I was just fortunate enough to listen to Timo talk for a few hours. You just got back from Wildwood. We didn't even touch on those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some great stuff that we're learning and we're moving forward with. And I think January will be a great opportunity for us to explore some of those things, talk about some of those things as we move forward.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm pumped about this direction that we're going to go in is, more training specific and talking about the hows and whys of what we do. And again, we don't have all the answers. We've been fortunate that we found success and we're excited and happy to show you, what that looks like within our world.
Absolutely. And we're not doing anything original. I'm sure if you looked at our plans, you could probably hold them up side by side with somebody else's and they would mirror what somebody else is doing. Well, we're rolling up on the holidays. I know you're in my time zone right now.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get together here soon. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody out there listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all those things you're supposed to. Tell your mom about it. Share it with your team, whatever you want. Enjoy the holiday, and we will see you in January. Coach Detman, how many Lakeshore runs are you going to get in between now and then?
Hopefully one every day. It's my favorite run in the world.
Well, until next time, we will see you soon on the Low Stick Podcast.
Thank you very much.